Okay, I am here. I am actually recording for the first time in a while. I do not have my new PC, everyone. I am just kind of, I'm still waiting on that. But I wanted to get something off my chest because I'm pretty, I would say I'm pretty annoyed lately. And I'm not sure if it has anything to do with any of my listeners. Probably not super much, considering where we are. But I've been getting really annoyed at people making excuses and missing the point. I'm just gonna jump into it. Our whole political system is totally just gone. Like it's screwed up. We do not have principled leadership in the U.S. Not at all. Not at all. There are some people who try to be, but for the most part, even the people who are trying to be are caught up in bullshit. Flat out. If you look at the changes that have happened in the American people, and I'm really mad at conservatives in a lot of ways because they fucking suck at conserving anything. Conservatives do not conserve anything. They just try to maintain as much of their status quo as they can. They accept the premise of anyone who brings up a gripe with them. They just accept whatever the premise is and say, okay, but let's not go that far. That's what most conservatives do these days. And I'm really kind of fucking pissed. So pardon my language. Like you can tell I'm not even dressed up for this one. I'm just kind of really pissed off. I hope you guys like the new lighting. I probably should adjust where it is, but honestly, I got two monitors right now and I have nowhere else to put it. Anyhow, yeah, so people keep bringing up how China's ahead of us and blah, blah, blah. Or China's trying to get ahead of us. No, China is ahead of us. China has won. China already won. It doesn't have to be that way. But as far as we are concerned as a society, China has won. For the entire West. The entire West has cucked to China. And not just to China, but to their own globalist fuckheads taking over and making decisions that destroy their own culture for the sake of filling their own pockets. So a lot of people have problems with the media and blah, 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 whatever. So the media, there is an amount that the media can influence things. They can choose how to frame things, how to show things, and all that good stuff. But the real thing is the media can't show anything that doesn't exist to some extent. They can cut things together and they can make it look like something exists that doesn't exist. But they have to take it from somewhere. And our politicians do fuck all to preserve American values and American culture. Fuck all. I'm very, very frustrated right now. I am very frustrated because I see our kids and I see some kids, some young people, a handful have that American spirit in them. I see a handful of even people of a modest age giving a shit and trying to do what's right. And the thing is, it's never enough. It's never going to be enough because the fact of the matter is the people who do the right things, they're not involved in politics. They're not involved in shaping our culture. They shape their own little box typically. And that's great. That's good. We need people to do that. But when that's the best you have and you're not getting any of that among our leadership, when you're not getting any of that from our representatives, from the people who are supposed to support and preserve and promote our values. You're not just supposed to preserve them. You are supposed to make sure they flourish. If you are not making sure they flourish, then they are dying. Every business knows that if it's not growing, it is failing. So I don't understand why so many fucking conservative politicians think that if they are not growing, if they think that just maintaining their freaking status quo without pushing, without trying to create something that will improve their positioning, without trying to actually lead people anywhere, what makes them think that they are going to be able to maintain a fraction of what they want? Because the truth is, I don't think they want it. I don't think they want it. I just think they want to be the opposition. That way, anytime that the left says, oh, this guy's evil, so someone who's actually pushing is way more evil. They're totally evil. That's what they do. This goes back a very long time. Like, I think a lot of this, I don't know. I think there was something after Nixon that just decimated the seat of the Republican Party. For all the credit that Reagan gets, look at what has become of the party that followed him. Look at who the party was that followed him. And the same can be said for Trump. Now, Trump is keeping himself in the spotlight. He's trying to continue to make changes happen. But he's an old man. He's an old man, and he doesn't have a ton of political awareness. He doesn't have much awareness, really, of many things outside of his narcissistic bubble. This is the guy who we all say is trying to preserve American independence and freedom and all this, and the dumbass won't get off of Facebook. He won't get off of Twitter. He won't go to any other networks. He says, "Oh, where should I go? Where should I go?" Oh, he doesn't go anywhere. That's conservatism. Complain about the thing that's right in front of you, and then never say, "Oh, is there an alternative?" Or when there are alternatives, saying, "I don't see it. I don't see it." That's raining. Sorry if you guys are hearing that a little bit. I'll try to filter that out. But I would like to make more informative videos. Getting my computer to work is really just draining for me, but luckily I had to start it up during work today, and my personal one during work today, and that kind of left it accessible to me because it's amazingly functioning as it's supposed to, which rarely ever happens. But I don't know what there is that can be... I don't know what there is that can be done to improve the state of America. When you look at what happened with the pandemic 100 years ago, proportionally, that pandemic was so much worse. Now, it may not have killed as many people, though the reporting on their statistics were probably a lot better than ours, but proportionally, people died a lot more from it. It was a lot more deadly. And even then, people had the sense that when the government had the sense to only do any kind of restrictions or mandates in hot zones and not the entire healthy population of the U.S., which people continue to bend over and say, "Fuck me in the ass" more over. God, I'm pissed. I am so pissed because it's not just the politicians, but the American people have cucked themselves. We are not a liberal society anymore. Not at all. Now, people can say we are, but we're not. Just look at how the people act. Look at it. Yeah, there's a ton of people who are like, oh, leave me alone. But whenever it comes to actual learning, actual considering of leadership, or considering of what are the facts and stuff, people don't give a shit. The American people are simply doing what they think feels right based on whatever news they're told, whatever their leaders tell them. That is so antithetical to what it is to be an American. I cannot believe how far this country has fallen. But I can't believe it because I've seen our leadership. I've seen our schools. And you know, while I grew up in this time, I didn't really get the chance to experience too much of the real heart of American liberalism. But I've gotten snippets of it. Little pieces here and there where it pops up, where people still believe in it. Some individuals, some from thinkers, and some from just history. History that's easy to find. Google's not even hiding it from people. People can just look at it. They can completely control and manipulate the algorithms, but they don't hide this stuff because people don't look for it. Everyone says they want to be left alone, but they never do anything to make it so that they will be left alone. They never do anything to make sure that they are safe and protected from the people who won't leave them alone. Your house has a security system on it. People will put fences in their yards. But what will they do to protect their children, their country, their neighbors from just having their culture be destroyed? Monkey see, monkey do. If the monkey doesn't see it, he's not doing shit. That is what I'm seeing. And it frustrates me. If you read anything about the Spanish flu, the flu of 1918, you will see that some places try to implement things like mask mandates, and the people revolted. There are actually evidence studies during that time where when some places had to have mask mandates, the virus actually spread more because people kept touching the fucking mask because people touch their face. People touch their faces. AOC, when she's going on there telling people wear the mask, she touches her face while she's telling people not to touch their face. These politicians tell you gotta wear the mask properly, and they have it below their nose. We have allowed ourselves to become a country of morons led by morons, sellouts, and imbeciles is already morons, so I guess I'm a moron too. At least I recognize it. You know, people keep saying things like, facts don't care about your feelings. Well, feelings don't care about your facts. People say things like, reality wins. Reality is what you perceive it to be. Truth always finds a way. Does it? Does it? In some ways, yes. If there's a physical truth that can't be denied, then it can't be denied. If there's a physical truth that something happens, and then the butterfly effect leads that thing to cause many other things to happen, that is truth. But will people perceive it that way? Will people recognize it? Will people understand that when they see people begging for racial segregation And that's anti-racist. That is not racist at all. Wanting people to be divided based on their ethnicities and races. That's what kids are being taught. That's what modern support groups are. We are so far beyond where we should be. This is ridiculous. Economically, the US, all of Europe, all these countries, they have the ability to just completely stonewall any of these enemy states, any of these risky states, any China's, Russia's, whatever. Who gives a fuck? Who cares? Who gives a flying shit? We could completely just stonewall any of this with simple policy changes, with simple attitude changes. But we hate ourselves so much. We're so fucking full of ourselves while hating ourselves at the same time. What's the saying? Break your foot to spite your face? I can't remember what it properly is. Well, whatever the case is, we're failing in a lot of ways. And we're failing as a people. We're failing with our leaders. And we're failing for our future. Our debt is just a debt to our future that our children and our children's children will be drawn down by. If you look back just a century, the debt of Germany is what led to the rise of the Nazis, because the entire debt of World War I was put on Germany's shoulders. And you know what they did? The Nazis came in, they said that they were a new government, and therefore the debt did not apply to them. They began to build and become prosperous. At least as much as they could. And in a short time, they were able to become so strong, they were able to challenge the entire world to take it over. So, are we going to let it get that bad here? When a first psychotic person who has the balls to stand up to all this manages to persuade a bunch of people, what's going to happen? When people realize how much they've lost. Because people don't realize it yet. They just don't realize. But one day they will. Because it can't keep up forever. The only reason the US is able to keep printing money like it's been, the only reason it's been able to avoid hyperinflation is because we basically point a gun to the world and say, use our currency for trade or we will go to war with you. Well, people are starting to use other currencies, cryptocurrencies even. People are starting to look for value in other places. What happens when that threat is no longer enough? When the US has enough money held in foreign hands, enough of our currency held in foreign hands, all that debt that we owe them, all that bullshit just holding our currency up, keeping it from inflating itself to destruction. When they realize if we just stop, they're not going to be able to afford to do anything with our military. What's going to happen? We may be perfectly fine, and then one day, a whole series of enemies, a whole series of countries that we've previously held the gun to say trade with our currency, and they all get together and they say, we're going to reject this all at once. What will happen then? Can we go to war with 30 countries at a time, including China? All of the Middle East and China and places in Africa and Russia? Can we spread ourselves this thin? We're in a terrible position. And it's got me really pissed off. And I'm most pissed off at the American people because I am sick of going out and then people wearing masks come up to me to yell at me that I'm not wearing a mask. A people full of envy and hatred. I have to wear a mask, so why aren't you? I have to do this. I have to. It's for me. Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing this for me? You're a bad person. No, I just care about number one most. And number one, not just as me, but it's also the principles and values that I hold and that I believe in for America. Those values are what are number one. It's not just me. Those values, those principles, the things that we are supposed to live by. But what principles exist anymore? Even among conservatives. The left, they sure have some of their principles. They change them every fucking day, but I mean, they think they have principles. At least until the ideology changes just enough to make whatever they were grasping onto fall out of line. And then it all comes crumbling down. So what will the right fight for? What will any of us do? To an extent, I'm doing this to an extent, I don't know. There might become a point where our freedoms mean so little that any country will do. Because they're so devalued here. They're so worthless here. I mean, Biden is trying to keep people from going to see the border wall with cameras. That sounds like a violation of the First Amendment. That sounds like a violation of the freedom of the press. But you don't hear the press screaming about that. Because they all have their own agenda and they all want to fuck us over. Because these people have their money in the globe, not in the US. And for any dumbass libertarians who are like, yeah, open borders, you're a fucking moron. If the world doesn't share your principles, then having open borders, all that does is erode what you are. Free trade! Global free trade, it's the best thing ever! No, you fucking morons. No tariffs, tariffs are evil. No, you fucking morons. If we are a true capitalist system, if we are a system wherein people must make on their own and do with their own two hands, and they don't have government assistance, and all of these other countries, their governments are giving their big businesses all the money in the world to subsidize them, so that they can charge pennies on the dollar for what we make. How is that a free economy? And the thing is, I'm not even in a bad mood. I'm just upset, but I'm not in a bad mood. I have been having a pretty good time lately, but the more conversations I see, the more worthlessness I see, the more I see people too distracted that, oh, China took advantage of our trade deals. Well, how the fuck do you think they got them in the first place? You were sold out before China had those trade deals. The selling out is why China got those trade deals. The selling out is why they've been able to grow so much. And no one's reacted in any ways. Oh, evil China, they hurt us, they took advantage of us. We let them. That is why even the conservatives are batsua. Anyhow, that's it from me. I'm done.